Let's talk more about the markets again and see how long these doldrums will last, because there's actually, David, some bullish signs on the horizon. You called it in the intro, the tide is beginning to change. So a few things that are different that we should emphasize this week. Number one, I don't know if you saw this chart. This is Thomas.
I love
M2
this chart.
money supply has flipped positive. Here it is. What are we looking at? And can you describe this for like Bankless listeners and viewers on YouTube, what we're looking at and what M2 is actually measuring?
So we are looking at a chart from 2019 up until this very moment right now of the percentage growth of M2 money supply. So when there is a tiny blue bar that's above the line, that means we are growing by a percentage. And then if it's below the line, it actually means that M2 supply is decreasing. M2 money supply is called broad money supply. So like if you pull out your wallet and you have like a $1 bill, that is M0. M2 is after all of the 10 to 1 fractional reserve of the commercial banking sector. It's after all of like private money has been created. And so it's a very broad measure of circulating money. And it's generally why it's important. It's generally the underlying common denominator that frequently prices capital assets.
It's like, that meme where you see Jerome Powell in the money printer?
Yeah,
that's what
M2.
M2 basically is. This is
well,
M2.
when Jerome Powell in the money printer prints $1, that turns into like $10 in M2, and so it's like leveraged just because of like the leverage of the commercial banking system. M2 is like where people get the money in their accounts to go buy assets. That M2 money supply flipped negative at the end of 2022 because of the Federal Reserve hiking interest rates and all the capital destruction in both like Bitcoin, crypto, stock market. All the capital assets went down, right? Houses stopped being sold.
For people who can't see, before that, it was mega.
It was big. It was extremely big. It was very, very big. So like M2 money supply was growing 25%, like for a year, which is large, which is very, very large. So M2 money supply was getting smaller basically throughout 2023 and into 2024. In the last week, M2 money supply flipped positive, as in the supply of money out there is growing for the first time in like a year and a half, 18 months. And Bitcoin generally, crypto assets generally are like debasement hedges, and the growth of M2 money supply is basically the thing that props up, especially the long tail of assets out there, which is definitely what crypto is.
So for the first time in a couple of years, M2 has flipped positive. The money printer is on. You remember that take I was telling you from Arthur Hayes, I think a couple of roll-ups ago, where he was just basically like, April's a wash, I'm going to sell. Like, it's just like, we're going down in April, and he called this like at the end of March and beginning of April. He has now flipped bullish.
Oh,
right?
Great.
It's like 1 month later.
It's May now.
And this part of the reason why is he says this: make no mistake, by reducing the rate of quantitative tightening from $95 billion to $60 billion per month. That's a thing that happened, by the way. They've reduced quantitative tightening. The Fed is essentially adding $35 billion per month of dollar liquidity. Okay, so quantitative tightening has eased. And in other words, this is quantitative easing, money supply expansion by another word. And this is part of the reason that Arthur has flipped bullish. And he's not saying it'll happen overnight, but he's basically saying we're back to more liquidity, back to money printing, back to like how things were trending in 2020. Of course, we're probably not going to see a COVID level stimulus, right, but that for Arthur makes him very bullish on the crypto asset class.
If you look at the total supply of M2 money out there, not just the change in direction of its growth, M2 money supply grew just absolutely massively post-COVID. That's like really what the effect of COVID was a massive growth in M2. And then we jacked up interest rates and all that money went into money market funds. But if you look, like the supply of M2 money didn't go away. There's still a ton of M2 money out there. There's just not in the long tail. As M2 money is growing now and people going on risk on, like all of that money that's we still printed a bunch of money, it's still out there. Now it's giving like more and more permission to go out on the long tail. If you enjoyed all of that, then you'll absolutely love the Bankless newsletter. Join over 300,000 fellow readers, all for free. Click below to sign up.